Hi, welcome into my studio, and I've just finished this oil painting of a golden eagle flying over the dramatic Italian Dolomite Mountains. And as per usual, there's a really in-depth video of this, over 4 hours long, for those of you that want to see all the details with lots of real-time footage as well, and that's on my Patreon art channel, links below or at the end of the video. Now that long video is a little bit different. At the beginning I actually show you how I go about editing my images and bringing in reference photos from other photos. The eagle was not initially in the scene, and I show how I bring that in, cut it from a background and do basic image editing. So for people who want to build up a scene themselves, this is a great video for them to watch. And I go into things such as repositioning and adjusting colours, tones and highlights. So as mentioned, this is just a brief overview of that long video, and what you can see on screen is my canvas. I've already put a grey acrylic undertone on there. For those that follow my videos, you'll know that I like to always work on a toned surface 99% of the time. Helps me judge those colours and tones much more accurately than working on a white canvas. And I've transferred my rough loose drawing over onto that as well, and in the video you can see I'm just starting to block in the blue sky. Now as I begin to build up the first underlayer, I like to get my reference photo really close to my subject. Now the colour on photos generally looks a bit different on the video than the colour on the painting itself, due to the way it just reflects and bounces back. But I'm trying to match the colours quite accurately, but I'm reserving my highlights for the final stages. But this blocking in, as I say, is just generally putting the position of the elements in place and getting the general colour right, and it really helps to get that reference photo as close to your working area as possible. And you can see that I've even folded the reference to get it that close. Lots of people work from things like iPads, or they have little tiny reference photos, and they find that when they're blocking in those initial colours and tones, that they can be drastically off, and that just compounds through your drawing and your painting as you judge one area and another against those initial colours, and they just keep getting further and further from what you really want. So that's why I recommend, especially beginners and novices, get your reference really close to the area you're working on, and I go into this quite in depth on this particular video. Now there's one thing I'd paint a lot of in this video, and that's trees, and as you can see in the reference photo there appears to be thousands of them. And in the video I go into techniques that show you how blocking in the general colours really start to simplify it, and you'll get a good feel for the shape and form of the trees. Then you can come back in with the darks and start working on the lights to create a really realistic appearance in the end. Here you can see that I'm just starting to do that blocking in process, all with oils. I've not used any acrylics in this at all. It's oils from start to finish, my preferred medium. The thing that really attracted me more than anything to this painting or this photo were those dramatic mountains, and especially with that mist and low cloud coming across the top. And in this video I really go into depth once again on showing how I build the layers, and basically I block in the major colours and the major tones, and then I start to refine those by gradually putting more and more details on top, and usually working lighter and lighter. You can see once again I've got that reference really close by, as close as I can. And I'm using a marl stick, so it's just a bit of wood with an old t-shirt rolled up on the end and some masking tape to put it on there, but that's steady in my hands. Now because I use alkyd oils, they dry overnight. Traditional oils, some areas would take days or even weeks to dry, so the alkyd oils are usually cheaper than normal oils, I use a professional grade Winsor & Newton Griffin alkyd, and I get a consistency of drying by the next morning, so that allows me to layer very quickly. Now that quick drying of the first layer worked perfectly in this instance, because it meant that when I came in with my second layer, I could start to float this low cloud over the top of various areas of the mountain, really creating a lot of depth and distance and recession in there as well, and it's quite easy to do. This is the main reason that I chose to do this subject with oils rather than pastels, because I wanted to really nail this aspect of the low cloud coming in. It's something I really wanted to get just right. Now, when I'd committed to putting so much detail into the mountains and the sky and the bird, then inevitably I was going to have to do it on the trees as well. And although I show a lot of ways in which I reduce the amount of time to create those trees, it still comes down to putting in lots of details. And you see that I'm increasing from the darkness to the light as I'm starting to overlay the trees and putting in their conical and triangular shaped tops, leaving darker areas at the bottom for the shadow areas as we come down the tree. But it is still quite an in-depth way of painting this many trees, because as I said, they're literally hundreds or feels like thousands, and it did take quite a while to do. When it was time to block in the eagle, you can see that I've once again got that reference photo really close by, and I've also dragged some colors and tones out using my image editor, just to make it even easier for me to be sure that I start to get these initial colors just right. And I show that on a few of my YouTube videos and also on my Patreon videos in more in-depth tutorials, exactly how I do that. And as I mentioned before, especially for beginners and novices, this is a great way to know that your underpainting is really accurate, and then in later stages you can start to concentrate more on those details. Here I'm starting to add those details. I've started to go to smaller brushes, building up layers with each layer drying underneath, and it gives a much more opaque appearance, especially on colours such as yellow. The browns on the wings, they build up very easily and quickly because they are so opaque. But colours, as I mentioned, the yellows are not as opaque, so we need more and more layers. And in the full-length video you see in great depth and detail how I start to layer upon layer, making the feather appearance not look too rigid and stiff by detailing every feather, but using my brushes so the brush does more of the work and just gives the impression of softer feathers. With the underlayer dry, all that's really left to do is to fine detailing. So that's coming in, looking at individual feathers, making slight adjustments if I want an area to be a bit lighter or a bit darker to suit the scene. I don't have to be a slave to the reference photo, and I make these adjustments then to actually suit the goal that I have for this painting. So I hope you've enjoyed this quick overview. As I said, there's lots and lots more detail on that 4-hour tutorial on my Patreon art channel, and I'll see you all again real soon. If you're looking for even more great art sources, I've really got you covered. First off, I've got a Patreon channel. It's been going well over a year or so, packed with around about 50 or more videos and new ones every month. Lots of the videos are many hours long, so you can see they're really in-depth. Subjects such as turtles, birds, elephants, big cats, you name it, it's on there. So that's my Patreon channel. And also on that Patreon channel, before I go on to something else, I've got a secret Facebook group So only the members are actually on there. It's the most supportive and friendly Facebook group that I've ever seen. I know I'm biased, but it really is. We've got 400 or 500 members on there, and they all help each other. So that's a great added bonus. That comes free with it. Also, you get line art every month as well. And we've just designed a brand new companion website for it. So if you've joined other patrons and channels and you found it very, very difficult to navigate around, we got this free website that comes with it. All the videos are now just a single click away. It couldn't be any easier than it is. I've also got my site, jasonmorgan.co.uk, lots of tutorial videos, DVD discs and downloads on there. And if you're struggling for reference photos for your art projects, I've got some of those too. I've got 900 plus on my website, wildlifeart-online.com, and they will be copyright free for you, so you can paint and draw from them and sell your work with no copyright worries whatsoever. So hope you like those extra resources, and I'll see you all again real soon.